Des îles qui font passer les miennes, en rêve qui s'appelle sur sang. Voilà les poutres sans retour, dans laquelle j'appartiens.
Hi, I'm your host, Denise Pereau, and I'm here on behalf of hiTechMODA, one of the top-rated independent runway production companies working in New York, bringing you the most amazing fashion shows. Especially, they are the arbiters of sustainable runway fashion shows, which they're the leaders in this vertical, and we're really proud to be here today. We also like to welcome Madison Lynch, who's one of the rising stars working with hiTechMODA. hiTechMODA prides itself on partnering with artists who bring wonderful messages about the world and what's happening today. Madison Lynch, we'd like to welcome you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
We're excited to have you. Now, what's special about Madison Lynch is that she is also partnering with the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention. She is a dancer, and her ability to convey really deep emotion on the runway to our audience is really important, and it helps support the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention's mission is to reach everyone and to show everyone how important it is to connect. Madison, so happy to have you here today. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Hi, I'm Madison. So basically I started dancing when I was about 3 years old. My mom enrolled me at a local dance studio right around the corner under the direction of Wendy Warren and Sandy Fuchs. And I've been training at the studio competitively for probably 18 plus years now. I'm 21 and I'm still very connected to the studio, and I actually choreograph and help teach and am still very, very involved. During that time frame, I also studied with convention work. I've gone to conventions with Break the Floor Productions. I've studied at Joffrey Ballet in New York. I've done some really cool things to get me to this point. And after graduating high school, I decided to move to California. So now I'm living in Santa Clarita, California, studying at California Institute of the Arts with my BFA in dance. And actually, over the summer, I won Miss Dance of the United States.
So I've had the honor and pleasure of seeing you dance at hiTechMODA's runway show, both at in the spring show and last fall show. And what was so beautiful, it was totally mesmerizing. When you get on stage, your body and the way you dance really tells a story. And the story for hiTechMODA to convey to the audience was, the danger that our environment is experiencing, how the earth is changing, and all those things. And how do you train to do a performance like that and to engage the audience when they're there to see fashion?
I'll tell you, I feel like I definitely trained. My training process was very rigorous. Since I was 3 years old, I've had dance class and technique training 3-4 times, 4 days a week. And even in college, I've been studying every single day. So I think the physical part of dance definitely takes a training, definitely takes some time to really get to a point where you're comfortable with your body. But
You just throw yourself into it. It's so beautiful.
yeah, and actually at the same time, I feel like along with having this physical presence and being able to control and move my body in ways I want to, I don't know exactly if this is something that I can train or if it's something that just exists, but I know I have this passion and this love and this thing inside me that feels like I can heal people or I can translate something to people. It's
Well,
like
that brings me
it's
to
a
my next
burning thing.
question. That next question I have: how did you connect with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention? Was there a catalyst?
So when I was in Paris, France, over the summer, I was studying there with my school. I was doing a few things. I got a call from my dance teacher, and that's when she told me that a young girl from the studio had broken her arm, and she needed me to come compete at this competition. And along with that, they said, oh, and by the way, you have to choreograph yourself 2 solos. You're going for Miss Dance in the United States. So that was kind of crazy. I had like 2 weeks to prepare. And along with this, I also had the duty of picking an organization or a foundation of my choice to signify or to showcase and to work with if I were to win. And fortunately enough, I won, and I had the opportunity to choose the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. So that kind of was the beginning of my position as an advocate. But I think mental health and suicide is something that's very prominent in everyone's life, and especially in mine. And I also had a personal experience over the summer with a young girl at my studio who was 13 years old, who committed suicide. And I think that was definitely a catalyst to say, I need to do more than just be an advocate. I need to use my art to make this, to spread more awareness and to make this a real legitimate thing that needs to be talked
about. Especially today, there's the stigma about mental health. It can be really debilitating, and especially for young people, because you and I had a conversation earlier, and we were talking about when you were younger, you really didn't realize what type of life that you could have, because you're so young and you're living in the moment. You don't know about what's going to happen in the future. And how do you convey that in dance, that that you are loved and that you do have a future and that the world and life is worth living? How do you do that when you're on stage?
I honestly don't really know how I
Part of your passion, right?
Yeah. I, like you said, I definitely, growing up and kind of like reflecting back on my life, I definitely recognized that the older I got, the more complex things became, and the more I started to judge myself and compare myself to others. Whereas when I was younger, I was very free-spirited and living life to its fullest. And I still do that to this day, but I definitely recognized the complexity of becoming older and having to understand that, you're going to have moments where you're going to be pretty sad or pretty down and devastated.
Or scared. You could even be scared.
Yeah, or even scared. And it's just about finding resources or understanding ways to get out of that, because it's not going to storm forever. Even when it's raining outside and there's a big thunderstorm, there's going to be a sunny day around the corner. So it's about—
That's a great analogy right there. That, and all the young people that are watching us today, I want you to really take that to heart, because the storms are not always there. Everybody has a little bit of rain in their life. That's a perfect analogy. There's even a song written about it. Into every life, some rain must fall.
Yeah.
So while we're at this little juncture, why don't you give our audience your contact information?
Okay, so you can email me at dancermadisonlynch@gmail.com if you want business inquiries or anything. My Instagram is Madison_Lynch, and it's Madison with 2 N's _Lynch. And then my Facebook profile is Madison Lynch.
So that's great. And another thing you said to me that I thought was really relevant to this conversation is that it's important to tell people every day that you love them, so that they can learn to love themselves. When did you discover that was one of the key things in life, is to share your love and concern for other humans? I mean, that's a big deal for a young woman.
Yeah. Another thing is when I grew up, I feel like when I was younger, I didn't necessarily notice it. But as I grew up, I definitely realized that I'm very privileged, and I'm very grateful for my family and the life that I lived, and the love that our family has. I didn't recognize it at first, but we don't go like more than an hour without saying I love you, or we would never go to sleep without saying I love you. Even if we had a bad day, even if we got into conflict, even if we were disagreeing about things, we always finish with I love you, because at the end of the day, things can be very traumatic, things can be very terrible, things can feel so heavy on your soul and your life. And if you just have that one glimpse of hope and that one glimpse of love, it can either be a Band-Aid or it can be a cure. And in one sense, I feel like love is such a powerful trait that exists in the world. And sometimes it's taken for granted, and I'd rather
On that note, I'm sorry for the interruption, but it's so amazing the way you express this. So for people that don't have a great support system like you do, how can we find a way to love ourselves? What do you think as a young person? What do you see around you that would be like you would consider an instrumental influence on you?
So, what I think it's very important to identify a passion of yours or something that really brings joy in your life, whether it be writing or painting or playing games or couponing, shopping. Like there's so many things that exist in the world.
Anything.
And, yeah, and if you can just identify something that you love, there's an endless list of possibilities that can go with that. Not only that, but I think it's also important to recognize that there are so many people out there that love you, whether you truly believe it or not. Whether it be your immediate family, your mom, dad, grandma, brother, sister, or maybe it's a girl who lives over in Oregon who loves your Instagram page because you show off this, or if it's just someone who saw your blog post and it is very inspired by you. Like I think there's a lot of things about social media that I think can be problematic in a sense, but in another way, it's a great connection tool to connect people all over the world and to help people not feel too isolated in times.
Great points. Absolutely great points. Now, another thing that I wanted to draw attention to is how did you get connected to hiTechMODA?
So I got connected to hiTechMODA a couple years ago with the dance studio I was involved in, United Academy of Performing Arts. We were invited to do an opening number at one of their shows, and that was a couple years ago. And then the year after that, United was invited again. We did another opening number, but along with that, I was also invited to choreograph a piece of my own, which is pretty cool. And I think that's the connection I made with Alex Boyer, who actually has a big role in my Dancers for Suicide Prevention campaign, my very first one. And then after those two runs, I came back the year after, this past year, and I was invited to showcase another piece of mine to choreograph, and also to have another segment where I get to talk about Dancers for Suicide Prevention and actually perform with Alex at the same time, because he has a very beautiful song called Bend Not Break. He's also an advocate he's also an advocate at the foundation, so we share very similar goals in terms of using our arts for advocacy, but that was a great moment for us to connect on stage and have that time together.
Perfect. So I understand that you were also going to do a show, and the beneficiary of that show was the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And I love when you say change the lens. I think the way you look at things is really important, and that was very powerful, that statement. So tell us a little bit about your show. And I know it got postponed, but that doesn't mean it's not going to happen. And that's another thing, people have to remember, one step forward, two steps back. You can never give up. So tell us a little bit about that show.
Yeah, so March 28th was the date of the show, and basically what it was a moment where I gathered a few of my colleagues, a few of my friends at the school to all talk about like mental health and to give them an opportunity to showcase mental health, not only mental health, but also emotional, spiritual, physical. I feel like there's a lot of health aspects that can be involved in suicide and mental health things. So I invited these people in to showcase their lens on maybe how they view this topic. Because we all view things entirely different. We all have our own brains. We all have our own lives. And I thought instead of me just trying to do everything, trying to put on a 1-hour show by myself, I thought it would be more powerful to allow different perspectives and different people to also come in. So we didn't get to finish all of the pieces.
Power in numbers. There's power in numbers.
There is power in numbers for sure. We didn't get to finish all the pieces, but a few of the pieces were a little more upbeat and kind of looking at it from a positive point of view, like we can get through this together, movement together, that like we're powerful. And then some other ones were personal reflections on suicide or mental health, and were a little more serious and intentional when it comes to like their own story. So it was definitely different lenses, but I think all of them were so valid and so important.
It's all about good intention.
Absolutely.
And putting yourself in the right place to help the most people you can every day. And that's when you know you're on the right path. So I understand you have some images that we're going to share with our viewers, some of your, personal photographs and some of your Instagram clips. So why don't we do that now?
This is a photograph that I actually took 3 days ago with my mom. It was in one of her dresses from the 90s. Yeah, I feel like it has a lot of depth, but it was one of my favorite pictures. This is a picture of me in my crown and my sash as Miss Dance of the United States. I was hosting an awards ceremony that night in Chicago, actually. And I was just so blessed. I mean, I'm so blessed to have that title.
You look overwhelmed. Wow.
This is a picture of me on the beach in Venice by a photographer named Josh Rose. My friend and I went, and we just set up this photo shoot, and it was freezing, but we did it. And this is another one actually with the same photographer.
Gorgeous.
This picture is a picture of me at the New York State Fair. I've been competing at the New York State Fair for as long as I can remember, and yeah, that was one of my solos. Actually, my duet. Actually, that was my duet.
You've had quite a life, a lot of great experiences.
Thank you. This picture was another picture shot by Josh Rose, and it was actually the picture I used for my suicide prevention posters and advertising. It was a project I was doing with someone named Marissa Brown, and I think that picture represents weirdly mental health, because it's like an arrow shooting from my brain, like kind of like in what direction does my brain think type thing. And these last two images are from hiTechMODA. This is the moment I had with Alex Boyer during our little performance together, and this is a picture of me during my own creation, my own performance. I did the solo that I won Miss Dance of the United States for.
And you have a film clip from Instagram you want to share?
So this is a video of me performing in Atlantic City for Miss Dance of the United States with the United States Tournament of Dance. And this is actually the solo I choreographed about 5 days before the competition. Like I told you, when I was in Paris and I found out I was doing it, it was kind of spur of the moment, here's my work. So this song is La Vie en Rose, and it definitely, it allows, oh my gosh, I'm stuttering. It allows me to evoke a lot of emotion through that performance because the music is so beautiful.
Edith Piaf is one of my favorite singers. That's a really beautiful song. What an amazing journey that you've had, Madison. It's so nice to be able to share with you. And before we go, I'd like to know, what is your call to action to the young people out there that may be suffering mental health issues, that may be contemplating suicide, that what is your call to action for the members of your generation? What would you like to say?
That's a big question, because I feel like I'd love to say so much, but I'd love to give everyone a hug and let them know that someone's there for them and someone cares for them. But I think something that is really important is reaching out and talking.
And asking for help, right?
Yeah, the slogan of American Foundation for Suicide Prevention is "Talk Saves Lives." And I know talking and being vulnerable and opening up and being honest with other people about yourself is very difficult. But I think reaching out can help you in a lot more ways than you think. And it doesn't have to be reaching out to your best friend, reaching out to your closest family members. It doesn't have to be someone so close. You can also reach out to the crisis text line at 741-741. You can text talk, and someone will be there to talk with you and help you
through that number again, please, Madison. I'm sorry to interrupt. Could you just a little bit slower?
Just text talk to 741-741 if you, or if anyone you know actually is in crisis, if you want to reach out and get some help for people, because staying inside your head for so long can be very torturing. So allowing this conversation to exist and to be real, and to use art to get us there, because the more art in the world, the more beautiful the world is. So why wouldn't we do that?
Well, that's a powerful message for our viewers, and I'm really thankful that you came here. And hiTechMODA is so grateful to be partnering with you and the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. So we look forward to seeing great things from you in the future, and we look forward to having our viewers join us again next time with hiTechMODA. Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys.